I'm back for DustCS's ongoing coverage of DreamHack Atlanta, and I'm here for our first episode of Saving NACS here at the event. And I'm here with MaestrO, who you might know from a couple of things. You may know him as the former coach of Bad News Bears. You may know him for his work with Refrag, or you just may know, if you're a fogey, you may just know him from his exploits in 1.6. So to start off with that, I want to ask you: you've been someone who's been in the scene forever. How did you get your start in esports?
I started playing StarCraft 2. Actually, was my first. Sorry, my first game in esports was StarCraft and Brood War in 2001, and that was my first PC game. Shortly thereafter, I found out about Counter-Strike 1.5, and I had touched 1.3 previously, but 1.5 is what grasped me, and I started just grinding the game, and I loved it, and haven't looked back since.
And with that time, a big thing with NA is that a lot of people don't have memories of that time because our scene, for better or worse, is very young. What's like your defining memory from those early days of Counter Strike during the CS 1.5, CS 1.6 days?
Local tournaments that I attended here in Atlanta, actually, for 1.6, and eventually led me to take the game a little bit more seriously. And I actually attended CPL winner of 2006, where I met some of the greatest players on the planet, like in SK, Team 3D, NIP, Zex. That's where I really started understanding where this scene was going and what the trajectory could be, potentially be. Shortly after, I actually attended Esports World Cup in Paris as a spectator, where I again saw the likes of Team 3D, and Craig Levine was there, and some just legends of the time, K Sharp. And when I was able to see kind of just in a short period of time how far the scene had already gone in just a matter of 2 to 3 years, I realized that it was, just the beginning of something really incredible that was going to happen over the next decade.
And what do you think your proudest moment is from back in those days in the, before CSGO came out?
Proudest moment, um, I I don't have any defining pride from those early days other than just staying passionate about the game, and understanding and staying close to the scene, networking, going to events. I think even though I wasn't by any means at a tier one level, I was a fan of the tier one players, and I networked and connected with them as early as and often as possible. And whenever I went to events, it's important to get out there and go to these events. That's why I love continuing to attend. If at any possible time that I can, I try to attend some of these events. And I encourage anybody that's young and wants to go to be a part of the scene, um, you know, go to local events. That's where you'll get outside of your shell a bit, and kind of have the opportunity to network and socialize with like-minded people just like yourself.
And now, CS 1.6 comes to a close in 2012. What's your esports career been like since then, leading up into the current day?
Esports career, um, I would just say continuing to stay involved in the scene the best that I can. Right now, I'm primarily focused on the Refrag product from a marketing perspective, from an integration perspective, and staying connected to what exactly the meta of the game and how we can best continue providing the products and services that we do. Not only that we were able to provide in the CS:GO time, but now that CS2 is out, what can we do to have competitive edge, but also anticipate what is going to be needed for the future. So that's and also just as a competitor, I love continuing to compete, even though it's not at a high level. I enjoy being involved in the space and helping to continue, um, um, you know, elevate the level of CS that I have impact over, which isn't very much, but the tier 2, tier 3, and below scene, I truly, personally, individually enjoy helping people and players improve that want to improve in the game.
And you mentioned Refrag there. For those who don't know, what is Refrag?
Refrag is a suite of tools of practice tools that you can use and leverage to improve your game in Counter-Strike, all the way from utility to game sense to aim, to situational awareness. There's going to be some more fun and features coming out pretty soon. There's some that are in beta right now by Elysian Pimp. It's content series and the name of Refrag Academy. It's going to help you understand the game a little bit better from a defaulting perspective, CT defaults and executes as well. And then there's the tie to that is going to be the utility hub, where I explain how you can best utilize utility throughout the map, as well as the connection that you will be able to actually launch a set of that default that Elysian Pimp are explaining to you inside the server, and that you can practice yourself.
Now, you mentioned sort of your lifelong passion for esports and the fact that even though you may not be a competitor anymore, you do have some other involvement even outside of Refrag. People may know you from your coaching for Victorum, and then I believe were you part of Team 7 AM for a bit, or did you leave before they signed on?
I did, yeah. I was part of Team Victorum, and I helped actually with the agreement to have them sign on to Team 7 AM, and I continued coaching them throughout the first season that they were involved, and then I tapered off shortly after that. But yeah, and then recently with BNB, I helped them at the later stages of CS:GO, the first half of the season before CS2 transitioned. So yeah, I've enjoyed those projects.
And now, if we're sort of looking towards if we're sort of looking towards the future of esports, as someone who's been around since the very beginning, what's your sort of prevailing sentiment about? Are you someone who's bullish about the future of CS2? Are you more pessimistic? What's your sort of mind space right now in terms of the future of the game?
I think it's a tried and true product. I think Counter-Strike is just like, to me, it's like the soccer of esports. It's, you know, and what Valve is doing to pay attention to the scene is really important. I think they've done a really good job of helping elevate the future and setting up a good trajectory for the future. I think we're in a really healthy state. I'm not necessarily bullish. I'm definitely not pessimistic. I'm confident and very optimistic about the future of Counter-Strike.
And now, last question for you. You've mentioned sort of how you've managed to stay involved in esports, whether as a competitor, whether as someone who designed a product like Refrag. It seems like you've done anything you can to stay related to the game. You also mentioned to me before we started the interview about how you worked for Boomio for a while, which was an esports product. There's a lot of players I think who are now in your position where you were at the end of 1.6, where they're approaching the end of their playing career. They may not have been able to join a tier 1 org and stay in the game. What advice would you have to them to sort of, if they're still passionate about esports, how to stay involved and make that transition from a player to finding new roles in the industry?
It's a great question. And I think that there is definitely a lack of that ambition to apply work ethic outside of what you're passionate about. There's ways to contribute to the world outside of your lens, and you kind of have to just navigate your energy and try. So I would say first and foremost, find out what you're passionate about. If it is connected to an esports endeavor, then go for it. You have to connect a lot of that energy and your ambition and work ethic towards that, or else it's not going to happen. So I highly encourage you to be prepared to work really hard. Not necessarily have a backup plan, but definitely have a way to contribute to the scene in parallel with some sort of technical approach. If you can put yourself through a boot camp, I'm not necessarily telling people to go back to college or anything like that, if that's not your cup of tea, but definitely educate yourself and become a little bit more technical, because it is very parallel to the esports space.
So that's MaestrO for us as part of our Saving NACS series, someone who's been in the game for 20 years, and I'm sure will be in for the next 20 years. Thank you so much for your time, and if you want to learn more about Refrag, be sure to check it out on Twitter, @Refrag, right?
Official Refrag, yeah.
Don't go to @Refrag, go to @Official Refrag, definitely for sure.
Be sure to join our Discord and just come, be a part of our community. That's probably the best way to get involved.
All right, thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you around.
Absolutely.